All right, welcome back, everybody. This is my Eurusd 15-minute pullback strategy. Now, I would recommend you run this with my 5-minute strategy. If you haven't checked that video out, I definitely would. Using these two strategies together will provide you with a lot more wins that otherwise wouldn't have happened. Now, this strategy has went through about 2 trials. First one is at an 83% win rate, winning 54 out of 65 trades. As usual, the Lux oscillator was a bit slow, so I had to change the source to another indicator, and that brought it up to an 89% win rate at 58 out of 65 trades. So there are a bit more rules than there regularly would be in the strategies that I use on this channel. And that's why I wouldn't necessarily want anybody who's just starting out to trade this strategy. You need a bit more knowledge of the Forex market and charts and candlesticks and stuff like that to kind of trade this better, because you can't run a risk reward ratio. You have to use support zones, looking at different candlesticks, stuff like that, to kind of gauge where you need to get out. You can use the Lux oscillator to exit trades, but like I said in the last video, the Lux oscillator, you always won't get in at the perfect position for it to gauge where you can exit. So you will need to use support and resistance, stuff like that. Now, there are a few tips and then a few actual rules that you need to follow. Now, these tips are kind of like rules, but I would recommend you follow all of them like they're rules. Now, there's a first tip. When the Chandler exit flows in an upward direction, this doesn't mean an entry. Now, like I said, this is a pullback strategy. So we're looking for pullbacks to the Chandler exit. Stuff like this where it didn't pull back fully, or in this case, flowing with the Chandler exit, those are not actual pullbacks. In this case, if this closes above it, and you can see right now that it's actually using the Chandler exit as a pullback zone. When it closes above this, and if this does close above this, this is an entry. And we would set our stop loss a little bit below. Maybe you're at the support zone right here. Once the candle fully closed, we would set our support zone right here. And I might get in this trade right after the video. And then we would expect it to go right here. I'll probably set this trade up probably before the charts close. I think I did. But tip number 1, if it flows with it, and we need a clear reversal before we can enter. Second, stay away from extremely large candlesticks. Now, this is on the 15-minute time frame, so candlesticks like this aren't necessarily large on the 15-minute time frame at least. So we're looking for big candlesticks with large wicks. We need to stay away from those on this strategy specifically, because a lot of times it will pull back, but if it has a very large wick, there's a lot of noise in it and it might stop you out. So third tip. Like I said in the previous trade, if it closes, it has to close above the Chandler exit in this case. If it's a sell, it has to close below. But in this case, since it's a buy, it will have to close above this for us to enter. Now, we can only enter over the corresponding Lux color. So in this case, it's a buy. We're looking for the Lux oscillator to be blue. Now, once this candlestick closes in about 30 seconds, if it's still blue, and if this candlestick still closes above this, we will enter. And that's pretty much it in terms of the tips. Now, the actual rules are just the simple one. If everything lines up, then we enter. So in this case, if we have the Chandler exit, the Lux signal, and then once we get those two, all we are waiting for is a pullback. Now, we're going to enter here, and it's blue, so we're going to enter. That's the entry. And I think I was supposed to film this video a couple of days ago, but I didn't. So I did do some live testing before I filmed it, and I'm just going to go through this a bit so y'all can kind of see, because there's a lot of things that you might think are entries, but they're really not, because you can only enter after the Lux signal. The further the Lux signal is, that kind of takes away on its value. So we have a sell signal here. We got the Chandler exit. It pulled back, closed below the Chandler exit, and the Lux oscillator was red, so we entered. Now, like I said, you will have to use support and resistance to kind of gauge your stop loss and your exit. I did make a video on that. If you want to go check that out, it'll explain how to use support and resistance to make your take profit and your stop loss. I like support and resistance over risk reward because it's more true to the charts. Risk reward ratio doesn't apply to every situation, but if you use the support and resistance instead of that, you can kind of get a better location of where it could go. Now, we did get this buy signal, but we couldn't enter because the Lux oscillator was red. Now, so like I said, we can only enter if it's blue in this case. So, and also we wouldn't have traded this because look at this huge candlestick. Now, you could have got stopped out of this trade depending on where you put your stop loss at. That's why I don't like to trade these. Now, we got a buy signal here, and we entered right here at this pullback, and then we exited. I know this may look like a small movement, but this is, 10 pips. That's a pretty good amount, especially using a low spread broker. You can walk out of there about, $120. So, next trade. And we don't trade unless Lux sends a signal, which is why I told you I definitely recommend running this with the scalping strategy. Only trade this directly after a Lux signal. Now, got the sell signal right here, Chandler exit, and then although this changed, if it still respects the Chandler exit support zone, you can enter. This is your choice. If you want to respect the rules fully, then you wouldn't have entered this trade, and that'll be, take a couple losses off, but either way, you're still profitable in the end. I just know myself, and I know how good I can read the chart, so I'm more comfortable trading this. If you're more on the beginner side, I would only stick to the rules. Now, got a sell signal here. It can form over the blue Lux oscillator, the sell signal. It doesn't matter where it forms, but we just need it to be red when we're trying to enter. So, and it was red when we tried to enter. It closed above it. It closed below it, and then we entered. So, simple strategy. It's really not hard. Enter here, won that one, got a pullback here, got out. We did lose here. This is one of the losses. And as you can see, I would enter here because it closed below it, and then I got stopped out, right here, which is fine. Entered here, boom. Didn't enter here because the Lux oscillator. Like I said, another example. We got the buy, but the Lux oscillator kept us out. So that's another loss that the Lux oscillator kept us out. Now, pretty simple strategy in terms of rules and things like that. If you're just starting out, like I said, I wouldn't recommend this strategy because you probably will take more losses than you need to. A lot of beginners have FOMO, fear of missing out. So this is none of my strategies are something you should trade if you have fear of missing out, because you're going to be on the charts all day. Now, the rules for this strategy are, the settings for these strategies. It only has a few. I tried it with the PP signal slope, but it was kind of holding it back, so I had to take it off. So we have the Chandler exit, and this is at 22 and 3. You can have it on show buy and sell labels, but it kind of clutters your chart, and I don't really like that. Lux ALGO premium. Signal mode is on confirm, and then we have 17 and 40, and that's it for those. And then we have Lux oscillator. We're going to put it on legacy. Oh, before I explain Lux oscillator, I will have to explain this. This is the half trend. Now, it's not on the chart because I'm only using it for the source code. So the settings for this are 6 and 1. And then leave it up for now. Leave it up for now. We're going to open the Lux oscillator again. And if I can do it. Lux oscillator. It's on legacy mode. If it's on anything but legacy mode, it'll look like this. This is not how I want it to look. It won't give you the correct signals and entries that you're looking for. So it's on 70, and then the source is half trend. Like I said, if you set it up exactly like mine, it'll be the first one. And confirmation smoothing, all of that. Okay. And that's it for the settings. Now, once you put Lux Oscillator, you put the half trend in the source code, just hide it. If you take it off your chart, it will delete Lux Oscillator and you have to just redo the thing. So the only way to have it on is to just hide it, and it'll be there. And Lux Oscillator will use the half trend in a way, because you can kind of see that they kind of line up. The Lux Oscillator just a little bit later, and that's what I kind of liked about it, because this one kind of lined up more with the Chandler exit. So that's what it's there for. And that's pretty much it for the video. Pretty simple strategy. It does require a bit more practice, but in the end, you will be profiting a lot more. Each trade, you can kind of expect maybe 10 to 15 pips on, faster moving or slower moving markets. More slower moving markets, you can probably expect 10 pips. So at least 10 to 15 pips per trade. Pretty